50 tons of timber, steep mountain terrain, mud up to your axles. It's 1980 something, and you need a machine that won't quit. These weren't just tractors with winches. These were purpose-built beasts that revolutionized logging forever. Today, we're counting down the 10 most powerful skidders that dominated the forests when shoulder pads were in and technology was analog. Let's get into it. Number 10. Franklin 170/70. Kicking off our list is a machine that proved you don't need to be the biggest to be powerful. The Franklin 170. This skidder, produced by Franklin Equipment in North Carolina, punched well above its weight class. The Franklin 170 came equipped with a Detroit diesel 8V71 engine, pumping out around 270 horsepower. Now, that might not sound like much compared to what's coming later on this list, but what made the Franklin special was its power-to-weight ratio and maneuverability. This machine could go places the big boys couldn't, and it could pull loads that seemed impossible for its size. The 17 featured a unique four-wheel drive system with equal-sized wheels, which gave it exceptional traction in soft ground conditions. The grapple system could handle bunches of timber up to 36 inches in diameter, and the whole package weighed in at around 32,000 pounds. Hefty enough to stay planted but nimble enough to dance through tight forest corridors. Loggers loved the Franklin 170 for selective cutting operations where you needed precision over brute force. It became particularly popular in the Appalachian region, where terrain varies wildly and a smaller, more agile machine often outperformed the giants. Parts were readily available and mechanics appreciated that they could actually understand the systems without a computer science degree. Number 9. Timberjack 450. Moving up the power scale, we have the Timberjack 450, a machine that became synonymous with reliability in the Canadian logging industry and beyond. Timberjack, which would later become part of John Deere's Forestry division, built the 450 series with one goal in mind: unstoppable performance in the harshest conditions imaginable. We're talking about 40 below winters in northern Ontario, summer mud bogs in the Pacific Northwest, and everything in between. The 450 featured a Cummins VT903 engine producing approximately 290 horsepower, paired with a clock powershift transmission that could handle the constant stop-and-go nature of skidding work. But raw power was only part of the equation. The articulated frame design where the machine bends in the middle gave operators a turning radius that seemed impossible for something this size. The grapple could handle massive loads, with some operators reporting bunches exceeding 40 inches when conditions were right. The hydraulic system was overbuilt to the point of being nearly bulletproof, which meant you could abuse this machine day in and day out without catastrophic failures. What really set the Timberjack 450 apart was its cab design. By 1980 standards, it was luxurious. Well, as luxurious as a logging machine could be. Better visibility, improved soundproofing, and a suspension seat that actually worked made 12-hour shifts slightly less punishing on the operator's body. In an industry where equipment downtime meant lost money, the 450's reputation for just plain working made it a favorite from British Columbia to Maine. Number 8. Cat 5288. When Caterpillar enters any equipment category, you know things are about to get serious. The KT528 skidder was their statement piece for the 1980s forestry market, and it did not disappoint. Powered by a Cat 3306 turbocharged diesel engine cranking out 300 horsepower, the 528 brought that signature Caterpillar build quality to the logging woods. This wasn't some lightweight machine cobbled together from parts. This was engineered with the same philosophy that made Cat the king of heavy equipment worldwide. The 528 featured a four-wheel drive system with differential locks on both axles, meaning when you engaged those locks, all four wheels were getting equal power. In practical terms, this machine could pull itself out of situations that would leave competitors calling for a dozer to come rescue them. The articulated steering gave it remarkable agility for a machine tipping the scales at over 40,000 pounds. The grapple system was hydraulically powered with enough force to compress a full load of logs into a tight bundle, minimizing trips and maximizing efficiency. Operators particularly appreciated the high ground clearance, which meant you could straddle stumps and rocks that would hang up other machines. But perhaps the 528's greatest strength was the Cat dealer network. Break something in the middle of nowhere, CAT could get you parts faster than anyone else in the business. Need a mechanic who actually knows the machine. CAT-certified techs were everywhere. This support infrastructure made the 528 a smart business decision, not just a powerful machine. The 528 became especially popular in the southern United States, where pine plantations were being harvested on an industrial scale. The combination of power, reliability, and support made it the go-to choice for large logging operations that needed machines running round the clock. Number 7. John Deere 740O. John Deere didn't become a household name by making mediocre equipment, and the 740A skidder proved they could compete with anyone in the forestry market. The 740A packed a John Deere 6466T turbocharged engine, delivering 325 horsepower to all four wheels. This was serious power, and Deere engineered the drivetrain to handle the brutal shock loads that come with snatching heavy timber over rough terrain. The power-shift transmission offered 8 forward and 4 reverse gears, giving operators the right speed for any condition. What really distinguished the 740A was its operator comfort and control systems. Deere understood that a comfortable operator is a productive operator, and they designed a cab that actually felt like it was built for human beings. Climate control that worked, a seat that didn't rattle your fillings loose, and controls positioned where your hands naturally fell. These details mattered during long shifts. The grapple system on the 740A could handle loads up to 45 inches in diameter, and the hydraulics responded quickly enough that skilled operators could work at an impressive pace. The machine's weight distribution was carefully calculated to maximize traction without sacrificing maneuverability, a balance that many competitors struggled to achieve. Maintenance was relatively straightforward, with daily service points accessible from ground level. Filters, fluids, and grease fittings were positioned logically, which meant pre-shift inspections didn't require acrobatics. This might seem like a small thing, but when you're starting work before sunrise in freezing temperatures, accessibility matters enormously. The 740A found its sweet spot in mixed hardwood forests of the upper Midwest and Northeast, where its combination of power and finesse made it ideal for selective cutting operations. It could extract individual trees from tight spots without damaging surrounding timber, important when you're trying to maintain a sustainable forest rather than clear-cutting everything in sight. Number 6. Tree Farmer C6. Now we're entering the heavyweight division. The Tree Farmer C6 was a purpose-built logging machine that didn't pretend to be anything else. This was pure functionality wrapped in steel. The C6 came equipped with a Cummins VTA 903 turbocharged diesel putting out 335 horsepower, and every bit of that power was necessary. This machine was designed for West Coast logging operations where the trees weren't measured in inches, they were measured in feet. We're talking about old-growth Douglas fir and redwood that could yield tens of thousands of board feet from a single tree. The articulated frame design was massively reinforced because the loads it handled would twist a lesser machine into scrap metal. The rear arch, that curved structure that holds the front end of the logs off the ground, could lift loads that seemed impossible. Some operators reported successfully skidding bundles containing over 20 tons of timber, though that was definitely pushing the machine's limits. Tree Farmer engineered the C6 with simplicity in mind. This wasn't a computer-controlled machine with dozens of sensors and electronic modules. It was mechanical, hydraulic, and diesel technologies that a skilled mechanic could diagnose and repair in the field. When you're working 50 miles from the nearest paved road, this kind of simplicity isn't just convenient, it's essential. The cab, while basic by modern standards, was positioned high enough to give operators excellent visibility of the grapple and the terrain ahead. This was crucial when navigating through stumps, rocks, and slash while dragging thousands of pounds of timber. The ride was rough. This machine didn't coddle you, but it got the job done day after day. The C6 developed a cult following among West Coast loggers who appreciated its no-nonsense approach to moving timber. These machines routinely racked up 20,000 hours or more before requiring major overhauls, a testament to their robust construction. Number 5. Timberjack 460. The Timberjack 4T60 represented the company's answer to the question, what if we took everything we learned from the 450 and made it better in every way? Under the hood, or more accurately, under that distinctive Timberjack yellow cowling, sat a Cummins VTA 1710 engine, producing a stout 350 horsepower. This was matched with an upgraded transmission and a beefier drivetrain designed to handle the increased power without grenading under stress. But power was only part of the upgrade story. The 4060 featured improved articulation joints that reduced stress on the frame while providing tighter turning radius. The hydraulic system was completely redesigned with larger pumps and more efficient routing, which translated to faster cycle times and better grapple response. The cab represented a significant leap forward in operator comfort. Timberjack installed a suspended cabin that isolated the operator from much of the vibration and shock transmitted through the frame. Sound insulation was improved and visibility was enhanced with larger windows and better positioned mirrors. These improvements might seem cosmetic, but they directly impacted operator fatigue and productivity. The 4060's grapple could handle absolutely massive bunches of timber, up to 50 inches in diameter under ideal conditions. The clamping force was sufficient to compress logs together, creating a more compact bundle that was easier to drag and less likely to hang up on obstacles. What made the 4060 special was its versatility. It was powerful enough for heavy-duty industrial logging but nimble enough for selective cutting in managed forests. This flexibility made it popular across different regions and logging styles, from clear cutting in the Pacific Northwest to sustainable forestry in Scandinavia. Reliability remained Timberjack's calling card. The 460 could work in conditions ranging from desert heat to Arctic cold, and it kept working when lesser machines were sitting idle waiting for repairs. Parts availability was excellent, and the design was straightforward enough that most mechanical issues could be resolved quickly. Number 4. Cat 518. Caterpillar looked at the success of their 5020 and decided to create something even more capable. The result was the Cat 518, a machine that redefined what a skidder could accomplish. The 5118 packed a turbocharged Cat 3406 engine, producing 375 horsepower, a significant jump over its smaller sibling. But Caterpillar didn't just bolt in a bigger engine and call it a day. They redesigned the entire drivetrain to handle the increased power, strengthened the frame to manage heavier loads, and upgraded the hydraulic system to maintain fast cycle times even under maximum load. The four-wheel drive system featured planetary final drives at each wheel, giving the 518 exceptional pulling power while maintaining reasonable ground speed. The differential locks could be engaged on the fly, which meant operators could adapt to changing terrain without stopping. This was crucial when you hit an unexpected soft spot while dragging a heavy load. Lock the diffs and power through rather than getting stuck. The articulated frame on the 518 was engineered with precision that was unusual for equipment this heavy. The steering system provided excellent control, allowing operators to place the machine exactly where needed, despite its substantial size and weight. The turning radius was tight enough for most forestry roads and landing areas. Cat designed the 518's arch and grapple system for maximum versatility. The arch could lift heavy loads high enough to clear most obstacles, while the grapple could handle everything from small pulpwood to massive saw logs. The hydraulic controls were responsive and proportional, giving skilled operators fine control over the grapple's movements. The cab represented Caterpillar's commitment to operator welfare. Climate control kept the interior comfortable regardless of outside temperatures, and the sound insulation reduced noise to levels where you could actually have a conversation without shouting. The seat was properly designed with adjustable suspension, and the controls were laid out logically. Visibility from the 508's cab was exceptional. Large windows provided clear sightlines to the grapple, the terrain ahead, and the mirrors showed what was happening behind. This all-around visibility reduced accidents and made operators more confident and efficient. The 518 found its niche in operations where maximum productivity was essential. Large logging contractors running multiple shifts appreciated how the 518 could simply work harder and longer than most competitors. The machine's robust construction meant it could handle the abuse of continuous operation, and the Cat dealer network ensured minimal downtime. Number 3. Franklin 405. Breaking into the top 3 is the Franklin 405, a machine that represented the pinnacle of independent skidder manufacturing in the 19th. Franklin equipment didn't have the massive resources of Caterpillar or John Deere, but they understood logging better than almost anyone. The 405 was their flagship, and it showed in every detail. At its heart was a Detroit diesel 12-volt 71 engine. Yes, a 12-cylinder two-stroke screamer, producing 400 horsepower in a power band that perfectly matched skidding operations. That Detroit diesel was legendary for its durability and power delivery. Two-stroke design meant it produced massive torque across the entire RPM range, and the distinctive sound that characteristic Detroit howl became the soundtrack of logging operations across North America. These engines were simple, rebuildable, and virtually indestructible when properly maintained. The 405's drivetrain was built to handle power that would destroy lesser machines. Heavy-duty axles, oversized planetary drives, and a robust transfer case ensured that all that horsepower actually made it to the ground. The four-wheel drive system with lockable differentials meant the 405 could pull itself through conditions that seemed impossible. What really set the Franklin 405 apart was its grapple system. Franklin designed a hydraulic grapple with tremendous clamping force and exceptional reach. The boom could extend further than most competitors, allowing operators to grab logs without repositioning the machine constantly. This saved time and reduced fuel consumption, small advantages that added up over thousands of cycles. The arch design on the 405 was particularly clever. It provided enough lift to keep log bundles clear of most obstacles while maintaining a low enough center of gravity for stability on side slopes. Franklin understood that a skidder that tips over isn't just dangerous, it's useless, so they engineered stability into the fundamental design. Operators appreciated the 405's straightforward nature. Controls were mechanical and direct rather than electronically mediated, which meant you could feel what the machine was doing through your hands and feet. This tactile feedback helped skilled operators work more efficiently and avoid damaging the machine through operator error. The Franklin 405 became the machine of choice for owner-operators who needed maximum productivity from a single unit. It could handle the work of larger machines while being maintainable by someone with good mechanical skills and a well-stocked toolbox. Parts availability was decent, and the mechanically minded loggers who typically bought Franklins could keep them running through creative improvisation when official parts weren't available. Number 2. Timberjack 850. The silver medal goes to the Timberjack 850, a machine that represented the cutting edge of skidder technology as the 1980s progressed. The 850 was powered by a Cummins VTA 1710 turbocharged diesel producing 425 horsepower. Serious power by any measure, but especially impressive given the relatively compact dimensions of the machine. Timberjack's engineers had learned how to package immense capability into a surprisingly manageable footprint. The drivetrain represented years of refinement. The transmission offered a wide range of gear ratios, allowing the 850 to crawl through tight spots at low speed or cover ground quickly when moving between cutting areas. The four-wheel drive system incorporated limited slip differentials as standard, with lockable diffs available when conditions deteriorated. This combination provided excellent traction without the harsh engagement characteristics that could snap driveline components. The articulated frame design on the 850 was revolutionary for its time. Timberjack engineered a steering system that provided stability on side slopes while maintaining tight turning radius on flat ground. The articulation joint incorporated an oscillation feature that allowed the front and rear sections to twist independently, helping keep all four wheels on the ground even on severely uneven terrain. The hydraulic system was where the 850 truly shined. Multiple pumps supplied different circuits, ensuring that steering, grapple, and auxiliary functions all had adequate flow even under maximum load. The grapple could handle bunches up to 55 inches in diameter, and the clamping force was sufficient to compress those bunches into tight, manageable packages. The cab on the 850 was genuinely impressive. Climate control maintained comfortable temperatures year-round, and the suspension system isolated operators from the punishment transmitted through the frame. Visibility was panoramic, with large curved glass providing clear sightlines in all directions. The instrumentation was comprehensive without being overwhelming, giving operators the information they needed to work efficiently while monitoring machine health. Timberjack designed the 85 with serviceability in mind. Engine compartments tilted for easy access, Filters were positioned logically, and daily maintenance points could be reached from ground level. This attention to maintenance details meant less downtime and longer component life. The 850 found favor with large forestry companies running multiple machines across varied terrain. Its combination of power, efficiency, and reliability made it a smart investment, and the residual value remained strong even after years of heavy use. These machines became the backbone of many operations, working alongside smaller skidders and complementing them perfectly. Number 1. Tree Farmer C8. Taking the top spot on our list of the most powerful skidders of the 1980s is the absolute beast that was the Tree Farmer C8. This machine was and remains the stuff of logging legend. Under that heavy-duty hood sat a Cummins KTA 150 turbocharged diesel engine producing a staggering 450 horsepower. But raw horsepower tells only part of the story. The torque curve on that Cummins was absolutely flat, meaning the C8 pulled like a freight train from idle to redline. Everything about the C8 was built to handle loads that would destroy ordinary skidders. The frame wasn't just heavy, it was massively reinforced with gussets and bracing that added thousands of pounds but prevented the catastrophic failures that could occur when dragging 30-ton bundles of old-growth timber. The articulation joint was engineered with huge pins and bushings that could handle the twisting forces generated during severe skidding operations. The drivetrain was purpose-built for extreme duty. Massive planetary final drives at each wheel provided the gear reduction necessary to convert engine power into ground-moving force. The axles were borrowed from heavy construction equipment and modified for forestry use. Differential locks on both axles could be engaged individually or together, giving operators precise control over traction. The arch and grapple system on the C8 deserves special mention. The arch could lift tremendous weights, keeping even massive log bundles off the ground and reducing drag. The grapple could open wide enough to encircle bunches exceeding 60 inches in diameter, and the hydraulic clamping force could squeeze those bunches into compressed bundles that dragged more efficiently. Operators sat in a cab that was positioned high for maximum visibility, but reinforced to protect them from the hazards inherent in heavy logging. ROPS, rollover protection structure, and FOP, falling object protection structure, weren't just features, they were integral to the cab design. The controls were laid out for efficiency, and while comfort wasn't luxurious, everything was designed to reduce fatigue during long shifts. The C8's reputation was built on its ability to work in conditions where other skidders simply couldn't function. Steep slopes that would cause lesser machines to slide, the C8 powered through. Mud that would bog down competitors, the C8 treated it like hard ground. Timber loads so large they seemed impossible, the C8 made them look routine. Maintenance requirements were substantial. You don't run a machine this hard without consequences. But the design was straightforward enough that good mechanics could keep them running. These machines often accumulated incredible hours, with some reportedly exceeding 40,000 hours before requiring complete rebuilds. The Tree Farmer C8 became the ultimate status symbol in West Coast logging. If you ran a C8, you were handling the biggest timber in the most challenging terrain, and you needed a machine that wouldn't quit. The sight of one of these beasts dragging a load of old-growth Douglas fir down a mountain would make grown loggers stop and watch. Production numbers were limited. These machines were expensive and specialized, but their impact on the industry was enormous. The C8 proved that with proper engineering, there was almost no limit to what a skidder could accomplish. These 10 machines represent the pinnacle of 1980s skidder technology, but they also represent something larger. A moment in time when mechanical ingenuity and pure engineering prowess created tools that transformed an industry and built the modern world, one log at a time. Whether you're a logging veteran who ran these machines or simply someone fascinated by powerful equipment, the skidders of the 1980s command respect. They were tough, they were powerful, and they got the job done without excuses. That's the list. 10 machines that defined an era and left tracks in the woods that are still visible decades later.